Thank you, everybody, for being here. We will get started with today's webinar on the electronic airway bill by Magaya. And I will hand it over to Jose Barahona, our General Sales Manager, to do the introduction. Jose?
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Christian. It's a really nice video. We have to get Daniel to smile more. That way he's enjoying the whole changes of what's going on in the industry. So today's presenters, as you just heard from Christian Lillemans, he's our product manager, and myself, I'm Jose Barahona, the General Sales Manager here with Magaya Corporation. So we want to thank you for taking the opportunity of being with us. And what is it about the e-AWB bill? So we want to take a little bit of time. And first of all, just like the webinar is named, we want to get you started. So we want to have an introduction. So today is going to be a basic introduction, where the industry's at with the e-AWB bill, where Magaya is at with the e-AWB bill status. A lot of you have reached out to us, following up, wanting to find out what's going on. We will have a demo of how that looks like in Magaya, and we're going to tell you how to get ready, because this is an important part. Hey, what do you need to do right now in order to be ready once this is ready to start rolling out with some of the airlines and the ports. And finally, my favorite part and your favorite part is we're going to discuss pricing and how this is going to look like. Okay? So let's have a look at the introduction, guys. What's the biggest key? What is it that we want to do? So we want to have a little bit of a poll. We want to ask you a few questions. Christian, you have some of the questions that are ready for us? That way we can go ahead and
Yes, sir.
get some answers from you. We want to know where each of you are at. So, Christian, go right ahead.
All right, so I am going to activate the first poll question. You should see in your GoToWebinar control panel a question popping up. The first question is, have your airlines contacted you about the e-AWB bill? And you can select either yes or no as the answers. Okay, I'm actually seeing some data happening in real time. It's quite exciting. I see 73% of you have currently voted. So 75, 77. Thank you for your very active attendance. I'll keep it open for a few more seconds. And we have a couple of more questions in this poll. All right, so have your airlines contacted you about the e-AWB bill? Yes or no answer. Closing in 5 and 1. Thank you very much. Here are the results, by the way. All right, then the next question is, have you used some sort of electronic messaging with your current airlines, the airlines that you currently are working with? Have you filed anything to them electronically? Again, yes or no answers. Or are you still, fully on paper with them? All right, almost 80% of you have already voted. Thank you very much for your attendance here. Okay, and in a few seconds I will close this question of, have you ever used some sort of electronic messaging with your current airlines? Okay, closing this poll. Here are the results. Most of you still fully on paper. It's a very good time to get going with this process. All right. The third question, there's only one after this one, is, have you signed the IATA multilateral agreement? You have 3 options: yes, no, or I haven't heard of this agreement, or I don't actually know what this agreement is. Okay, I see 70% of you have already voted. Thank you. There's only one quick question after this one, and then we'll continue with the presentation. So a few more seconds here for question, have you signed the IATA multilateral agreement? All right, closing now. And here are the results, by the way. About half of you that answered do not know what this agreement is. Good news, we will cover it in our webinar. And the final question, and this has also a few options to select from. How many master or straight airway bills do you do a month? Just to get us an idea about the volumes. 10 to 20, 21 to 50, 51 to 99, and over 100 a month. Obviously, the more you do, the more there is to gain from having the communication automated and electronic. Okay, so 80% of you have already voted on this one, so I'm going to close the poll in a couple of seconds here about the volume of airway bills per month that you currently have. Okay, and just for everybody's, we're a pretty good even distribution here in terms of volume. Okay, so I will proceed here with the webinar. And Jose, the floor is yours again with the introduction.
Perfect. Thank you, Christian. So everyone's asking, what is the e-AWB bill and what's Magaya doing about it? That's the first thing people would ask. And if you think about it, all of us who are in the shipping industry are involved in an industry that's very old, very ancient. You know, shipping and transportation of goods is one of the oldest form of commerce. So we have to make this transition over from paper over to pixels, if you want to talk about that, over to digital data. So what is the e-AWB bill? The e-AWB bill really, it's an online version of the printed master waybill that you're currently using. There is an industry-wide initiative to go paperless by using electronic communications. Here in Magaya, you know, we wanted to streamline and say, well, what's the big deal? Why do it? Well, we want you to be able to save money by eliminating printing. All of you who are, and I think it was 20% of you are still doing it, you know that you have to purchase those big old boxes of pre-printed airway bills, and it's not cheap. So we want to go ahead and say, you know what, we want you to save money. We want you to go green. It's an industry term. Everybody wants to go paperless. Everybody wants to save, be more conscious of that, and being eco-friendly. We want you to also satisfy standards and demonstrate compliance. You know, the more and more we're seeing the industry move to everyone connecting and having some sort of communication with ACE and the changes that they've made. The airlines now moving with the airway bill. We also want you to maximize time and accuracy by sending data that's already in your system. Those of you who've been clients of Magaya for a long time notice that Magaya is there to help you be more flexible and achieve more with less. So we want you to have the same opportunity of being able to transfer what you already have in your outgoing shipment directly into that e-AWB bill that's going to electronically be sent to those airlines. And once again, the most important thing is being able to go back and make sure that the messages of the e-AWB bill are received and archived. So this is a big jump in the airline industry to be able to say we're moving from paper to pixels and being able to use what is currently there, not necessarily trying to reinvent the wheel, but also giving you guys an opportunity of where we need to be. So Christian, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Jose. So a little bit of the of data and tech talk as well. Let's see. A little bit of a broad overview where the air cargo industry is with the e-AWB bill initiative. I'm sure most of you have been hearing it as a buzzword for a couple of years now. Plus, Jose just covered the industry need and benefits part very well. So I'm just going to make a few specific points that I think are relevant here and point to some resources. First of all, while most of the airlines have implemented the e-AWB bill, at least partly, it's still not universal for all carriers in all airports. IATA is actually posting a report every month which shows the e-airway bill volume. That's a percentage of all airway bills per airline globally. That's just to give you a general picture. Let's see if that one opens here. It's on their website, actually. And again, for those of us that love graphs and data, this is just wonderful. Just going to scroll to a page here that shows by airline monthly what their total penetration of the e-airway bill out of all airway bills are. And we see, for example, number one here, according to IATA, is Cathay Pacific. 68% of their airway bill volume is already electronic. So this is just to illustrate a general point that not everybody is ready yet everywhere. Secondly, IATA does have a variety of resources on their e-airway bill website, which let you, let me open this website here as well, which lets you look up more specifically which airlines and where are live with the e-airway bill. A great tool for this is the Matchmaker. If you look at the resources here on the e-airway bill website, you'll see Matchmaker, and I'll scroll all the way down and I'll just show you what the public users can see in the free Matchmaker tool that IATA has. By the way, US freight forwarders can create accounts, it's for free, and become a registered user, which gives you a little more detail and ability to, for example, save the reports that you want to pull from here. So what this Matchmaker allows us to do, for example, if I look at an e-airway bill status report, airline by origin airport, I'm in Miami, so let me, for example, see which airlines out of MIA already support the e-airway bill. So I'm just putting MIA as the airport code, and I see there are quite a few already. I can also filter by the e-airway bill status. Let me show only yeses here. That's pretty great. Okay, or I can, for example, look at a specific airline. Let me just clear the airport here and see where, for example, a specific airline currently already supports the airway bill. I see a list of airports here globally. So that IATA Matchmaker tool, you can just also go and Google it, but it's available in the IATA e-airway bill website. That is a pretty good place to check which airlines are on board and where, among other resources that the IATA website gives you. And next, I wanted to show you a little bit what the e-airway bill transmission technically means and looks like in terms of different messages that get exchanged. I'm going to use a couple of slides from IATA website here, and this is just a very basic overview of the process. What we're doing at Magaya is building the top option here, an integrated solution to eliminate double data entry. But some airlines do have their own web portals, which is the bottom option on this graph as well. And this is where it gets interesting. When we say e-airway bill, we actually mean a dozen different electronic message types with confusing names that go both ways, depending on many factors. And some airlines are adopting these different message types at different rate. So we see there are, for example, error messages, success messages, and cargo status updates, depending on where the cargo and the electronic communication is in different stages of the process. And Magaya will definitely have the capacity in our channel to receive the airline's messages. So error messages, success messages, cargo status updates, if the airline sends them, we'll display them in your Magaya system. And finally, a little bit about the message format. And I promise this will be the last IT-looking slide. So on the left, on this slide, you'll see the old format for cargo data electronic interchange, which unfortunately many airlines still use. And on the right is the new cargo XML format, which airlines are slowly converting to, and which Magaya supports as well. Now, until all airlines convert to the newer format, we have a system in place with our integration partner to convert the messages to the old format for the airline if needed. Why is this even relevant for you as the user? Well, the requirements for the data in the old cargo IMP format are unfortunately much stricter, such as your company name field can only transmit 20 characters, phone numbers can only contain numbers, etc. So this will mean that until the industry fully catches up with the modern format, the way you enter data in your Magaya system will be affected, and we'll touch upon that a little later as well. Okay, so where we specifically are at Magaya with this project, we are connecting to airlines through a technology partner who has existing connections to over 100 carriers and decades of industry experience. We will support both the new Cargo XML and the old Cargo IMP format shown on the previous slide, and this will mean specific data formatting requirements that we will look at as well. And we're already testing with live shipments with beta customers and a few airlines, and just ironing out the last little details. And the solution will be available for all customers in Magaya software version 10.4. The anticipated release date of that version is July 1st. Okay, so let me show you now a quick demo of how the solution actually works. This should be the familiar part for everybody who's already a Magaya customer, which I think most of you on this webinar are. So I'm using the version 10.4 here, and I'm not going to go over the details of the shipment. I've entered a standard, this is a straight air shipment here with cargo entities, routing information. Just going to go over the e-AWB part. So now, under the Actions button, you have an e-AWB section in the menu, and once you click there, it displays a summary page that's formatted to actually look like the old paper AWB. And you can scroll here and look out for reds, which would indicate an error. And then you can click on the send button and get a message that your e-AWB has been successfully sent out. For consolidations, I can see here this is a master with 2 houses. I would do it on a master level. The Actions button, the e-AWB option will now contain 2 options. Master e-AWB, which I can send first. Again, looks like this is passing all the validation. I've entered my data properly. Yes. And there's a second option here to send the e-AWBs for all the houses in bulk. So let me do that on my master as well. So this window will look a little different. I'll see the list of the houses, and I can click on the house to see the preview. And I've also produced an error here just to show you how the system would indicate an error. So it looks like I forgot to enter on the first house here. I forgot to enter my consignee's phone number. So I can just go back and go to my house and quickly fix this. It is indeed empty, so their phone number is very easy to remember. And going back on my master here, it's refreshing. And there we go. Second house as well looks all clean, and I'll hit send, and I'll get the message that it was successfully sent out. Now, the successfully sent out is obviously just the outgoing part. Under the e-AWB menu option, there's also results inbox, so to speak, where I would see all incoming messages. This is a test system, so I'm not actually connected to airlines here, so I will not receive them back, but you will receive any electronic communication coming back indicating errors or success here in this list under the result option on your shipment, which is also available as a general inbox. In the messages folder of your Magaya network, you'll have air carrier messages, and this will show all air carrier messages with date and time filters, and from here you can go to the specific shipment that this e-AWB message was relating to. Okay, so that concludes our short demo here. Let me go back to the presentation and discuss how to get ready for this process really. So first of all, I showed the e-AWB resources, the website and the matchmaker for a reason, so you'd have somewhere to check if the airline that you're intending to use from a certain destination or origin airport is ready. Are they live with the e-AWB yet? And so obviously if you already have a representative at the airline, you can just ask them, but you can also use e-AWB resources for it. Then step 2, how to get ready, which everybody needs to do that wants to use the e-AWB, is to fill out the e-AWB multilateral agreement. We had a poll question about it and 53% of you have not heard about it. So this is something that e-AWB says should take 15 minutes. Let me see if I can click on it. It's one of the tabs on their website. You can also just Google it, and it will basically be the only agreement you need to sign with e-AWB. As more airlines sign up with the e-AWB initiative, they will sign their part of the multilateral agreement, which means you don't have to go and sign any agreements with individual airlines. So that's what the multilateral agreement does for you. So it takes 10 to 15 minutes apparently to sign up. Okay, and then just on the technical side, just because of the technical requirements of the integration, if you're using a Windows operating system, a Windows Server operating system, then that should be a Windows Server 2008 or more recent. If you're running your Magaya system on a server operating system. If not, if you just use desktop OS, then it should be Windows Vista or later. So just the prior versions are unfortunately not supported for this feature. And finally, you do want to, so to speak, clean up your data that you have in Magaya, specifically talking about the entities. Okay, so I'll show you a little example here with a third shipment in my system that I had prepared, and this one will, if we look at how the entities are filled in here, it looks like it's fine, and I can even look at my regular airway bill here. Everything seems to display normally, but just to remind you, the regular airway bill is just a piece of paper. You can write on it manually, or you can make data appear on a piece of paper in any way. But when we're talking about an electronic communication, data needs to be entered in a structured way. Otherwise, the airline just can't accept it. And here I see that my shipper is producing several errors. So let's go and see. Okay, contact person seems to be required. Okay, maybe I really forgot to enter contact person on John Doe here. Yes, I did. Okay, so I'm fixing the first error. All right, great. The contact person is here, but it looks like the address, for some reason, it tells me the address is required, even though on the other airway bill and in here, I see the address entered. So let's go and investigate this one. This will cause problems for anyone who's entering the addresses in any sort of creative way, unfortunately. So really, the fields that are on the entities need to be used in a standardized way. So pick the country from the list of countries. If you want the name to display something else, go change it how it displays in the list of countries. Put the states and the cities in the correct fields, as well as zip codes. And this is something that can take some time. So this is something that you can already get started with, and make sure the street address really only contains the street address. So let's see now, having fixed John Doe here, looks like my airway bill is ready to pass. There you go. So that's just something to keep in mind, something that you can already start looking at in your Magaya system. And a good way might be to look at your customer list just by columns. You can sort an order by columns and see which columns display blanks, if the phone numbers are there, if the contact persons are there, if all the address fields seem to be filled in a uniform way. So that concludes my part. I will hand it over to Jose now to talk about the pricing. Jose?
Great question. Thank you very much, Christian. One of the biggest questions that people always ask is, well, why switch? Why change? If things are working the way they are, why would we want to do something different? In reality, it's the accuracy that's involved with it. It gives us more opportunity of being able to control what data is sent, so it's more uniform. There's more peace of mind. The airline can't say they never received something if they got it electronically. So thanks, Christian. And I guess for most of us, what's important here is cleaning up the data. So it's important to make sure that information is there. We're going to go ahead and send you a link after the webinar for you to follow up and have a look at the example that Chris gave us in regards to cleaning up your data. So that's extremely important, how that information flows from the Magaya system over to that. All right, so let's talk about pricing, guys. The first thing we want to tell you is there is this is a per transaction fee. Okay, it is per master. So some of you are sitting here saying, Jose, I have one master with 250 houses. Do I have to pay per all the 250 houses? No, it's only per master or direct shipment that you have. Okay, there is a $50 monthly fee for it. There is no sign-up amount. It's just based on the amount of transactions. So if you make 1 to 50 transactions, and I think 60% of you guys were within 1 to 50, it is $5 per transaction of the master. When you get to 51 to 200 transactions, it is $4.50 per transaction. Anything above 201 master in a monthly basis, it would be $4 per transaction. The idea for us is to be able to get more traction out there for all the clients. We try to price this in a competitive format. We know the price point of where Magaya is at, and we wanted to keep it at a point where all of our clients can go ahead and make a change once this is ready to go next month, for our clients to be able to do that. We try to keep it simple in order to be able to get all the master transactions there for you. So that's the pricing that we have. We're going to go ahead and by the way, your Magaya sales rep can answer these questions for you. If there's any questions specific to pricing, you can definitely reach out to your sales rep, or even myself or Christian. If you need anything from us, feel free to let us know how we can assist you with. Okay, Chris?
All right, so just a quick summary here before we get to the questions and answers. And by the way, you should be able to type in questions on the GoToWebinar control panel that is likely on your right-hand side with the orange arrow and the microphone and other icons. There should be an area there to type in your questions. So you can already start typing. We will address them as we get to the end of this webinar. So just as a quick summary, how to prepare: confirm that the airline at the airport that you want to use them and is ready. Sign the IATA multilateral agreement. Verify that your Windows operating system isn't too outdated. And take a look at your data. This is not mandatory, but it will make life easier once you actually have the solution already. And then when you're ready with that, call your Magaya rep or tech support, sign up for eAWB bill, and schedule an update to version 10.4, which is what you will need to have the eAWB bill options that I showed in my demo. All right, so let's take a look and see if we already have any questions entered. Yes, and let me start. Okay, so we have. All right, so we have a few questions. Where do we enter additional information on airway bill if this info is not already entered in Magaya? Let's see if there's it says for example, but then the question ends. So this was by Kate. Kate, could you please type the question again? It looks like it's actually missing the example part. So I'll take the next one. Until then, where do you enter the tax ID? How does the airway bill read that information? That's a very good question. Let me go back to my system here. I can actually show it right away. The tax ID field. So the specific ID fields are the identification number on any entity, and we can also look at if we're talking about agents or carriers. Agents and carriers have also the IATA code. I have conveniently entered test one here, but that's another mandatory piece in the transmission. So on the entity record, you would find this information. All right. If I have questions while filling out a multilateral agreement, do I call IATA or Magaya? IATA, well, there are links, phone numbers, and email addresses to support there as well. Unfortunately, we will not be able to help you with fields in the multilateral agreement. This is something that IATA is creating basically to facilitate your agreements with your airlines. Do we need to have an IATA account? So an IATA account number, that's a good question. It's more of a data question. Jose, do you know if and by we there it can be either the shipper or the freight forwarder, I believe, has to have it, but that's more of an industry question. I personally don't know. I will get back to Kelvin, who asked this question. Okay. If you do have an IATA account number, then this can be entered in the My Company info on the agent tab, or or the forwarding agent, which in most of your cases probably is the same information as My Company info, the IATA code field. Okay. When is 10.4 coming out? James is asking. 10.4 is the planned release date is July 1st, when you'll be able to. That's when you'll be able to do a Magaya online update to update your version, which is presumably 10.2 right now, to 10.4. How do we handle agents overseas who need documents at least 24 to 48 hours prior to arrival at destination? My answer is that I don't know the answer to this question, Rajiv. We will have to see if we can find an answer in-house and get back to you. Just to make clear what the Magaya electronic airway bill does, and I know IATA has a larger initiative for the e-airway bill and something also called the e-freight, which includes all sorts of other documents such as cargo manifest, etc., which will be the next phase in this transition to electronic messaging. What currently Magaya will offer is just between your Magaya system and the airline. Okay, so if there is some kind of a portal, for example, that you're using to communicate with your agents, then Magaya will not be talking to that portal. If the agents overseas are also using Magaya, then we have the Magaya network option where you can transmit your shipments with all the documents included to the agents overseas and receive communication from that. We've had that infrastructure in place for years. But this electronic airway bill option will only help you to send the airway bill data to the airline. Okay. The TSA letter, how is it submitted to the airline? Again, if by TSA letter you refer to a shipment document that you currently enter on your shipment as one of the potential documents besides the airway bill, then this will not be sent. The only data that we're sending is the e-AWB bill data. So no other documents will be sent using this transmission that we're introducing here. What documents the driver who delivers the cargo to the airline needs to give the airline so they can accept it? Well, any other documents that the airline has been requesting will need to still go the old way. The only document that gets electronically sent and the driver should not have to have a copy, therefore, is the airway bill. There's a question, what about import airway bill and or 7512s? Well, with 7512s, it's the same answer as before, and with import, the origin party should file it as an electronic airway bill if it is to be an electronic airway bill. The Magaya solution will handle export and domestic shipments. Very good question from Aaron. How do you make an amendment for e-AWB bill once submitted? Thank you very much for pointing this out. I simply forgot that part of the demo. It's actually pretty simple. Let me go to the first straight e-AWB bill here that I filed, and let's say I changed some data, and I'm going to click the e-AWB bill. Just the same button, clicking it again, will display a red text at the top right saying amendment. And I click send. And if I look at the results, I see in the comments that the second message I sent, I see all the data in this message was of type amendment. Okay. All right, next question. If we need to send some attached documents to the airline, could it be sent with the e-AWB bill? The answer for now is no. We're sending just the electronic, the EDI message format for the e-AWB bill fields. Where do you enter a notify party for a direct e-AWB bill? You enter it in the notify party field on the entities tab, and it will get transmitted. The tax ID for the consignee, I believe we've covered that part already. That's on the consignee tab. The ID and ID type, it's a double field with a drop down and the data entry. Again, the question from Brian here, how does this affect when we need to also ship invoices and any other paperwork with the master e-AWB bill or house e-AWB bill? It does not currently. This is the e-freight initiative from IATA, which is the next step in the industry, will cover any and all documents, but at first the e-AWB bill, which everybody's still slowly adapting to, only covers the e-AWB bill fields. How will the consignee and agent at destination manifest and clear customs? Will the airlines provide them with a paper copy? Do we need to send them the documents? That is a good question. I'm not sure what airlines will do with the e-AWB bill that's probably different per airline as well. So this is a question that probably is best asked from your airline reps. If we file our e-AWB bill, electronically, do we also need to provide a paper copy for someone else, or will you do that? All right.
Hey, Christian.
Yes, Jose.
If I may,
jump in. Any point here?
That was a question that was asked in Dallas. IATA is going around all the major airports. In fact, in Miami, it's going to happen in August 2nd. So it'd be great if you guys go to the IATA website and sign up for that e-AWB 360 initiative. There's a lot of these questions that come up, and this is one of the questions that came up when we were talking to people about the e-AWB in Dallas. And it's the fact that there are still other documents that we still need for a complete set that are not being transmitted by the e-AWB. So you're thinking, well, what do I do with my cargo manifest? What do I do with my house documentation? That still has to go with a delivery order with the driver to deliver that cargo to the airline. All of you, if we want to talk frank, all of you have been paperless with Magaya since you purchased Magaya. The issue is who receives that cargo or who receives that paperless documentation. All of you have been able to create your documents in PDF format and still be able to send it overseas to your agents. I know Rajib had a question. What do I need to do with agents that I need to send them information over 24 hours? That really doesn't change, Rajib. You can still go ahead and send out your Magaya complete set through the Magaya system or put it in PDF for that client overseas. But like Christian said, some airlines will print out the documentation for clearing purposes overseas. Some airlines may not. You have to ask the airline. But that was the answer that IATA, an American in this case, that was answering that question, was telling some of the forwarders that were present in Dallas. So keep that in mind, guys. It's going to have to be with the airline that we have to ask. And we do have other documentation that is produced in Magaya. So if you are creating invoices, attaching invoices, that stuff, that complete set still has to be printed out and sent with the rest of the documentation. That is not the master e-AWB in this case.
Absolutely. And I'm displaying here also the website that IATA has for the e-AWB 360, which is the initiative to get everybody on board faster. And there are dates here for the workshops. And there's also something happening in Chicago tomorrow. I'm hearing a similar kind of workshop. It's not here on the website, but there's one in Chicago tomorrow. And you can look also under the e-cargo, the left-hand side here, the e-freight initiative that I have been referring to a couple times by IATA. This is like the next step. So this is, as they say, moving towards a paperless era. And I would say maybe it's a little bit like call your congressman type of thing, where you can say, call your airlines, tell them we want more than just the e-AWB bill. When are we ready with the full e-freight? And Magaya will, of course, offer other documents as well in the future. Okay. So then there's a question about the additional information that that you've been handwriting on the actual e-AWB bill document in Magaya so far, such as there's a statement for lithium batteries here as an example. The cargo information, the field here, description of goods. There's a lot of room to type information about the cargo here, and also the commodity notes will get transferred with the e-AWB bill. So there are fields provided for adding additional notes, and where specifically to put them, we can also look at with support and implementation once you're on board with this. So let's take the next. Is this compatible with Mac/Apple. Question from Linda. Well, I'm actually personally using an Apple laptop for this presentation, but Magaya runs, and so will the eAWB solution out of Magaya on Windows operating systems only. But there are solutions such as Parallels or VMware which help you run Windows on partition of your Mac hard drive. So yes, you can have Magaya running on a Mac, but that would require you to have Windows running on a portion of your Mac first. All right. There's a specific question from Adriana about Argentina, about a specific type of code, CUIT number. Jose, do you know what that might refer to? Which is equivalent to a tax. Oh, I see. It's equivalent to a tax ID in the USA. Yes, let's talk about that again. If we open any entity here, the identification number, it comes with a drop-down where you can also select the type of identification number you used. So there is a field here for foreign, let's say, or even other, if there's really nothing else, nothing from this field that could apply. And just use that drop-down, and as with any errors, you will get an error message back from the airline if the identification type wasn't valid. They will tell you.
That also goes for an NIT number. You know, it's their version of, you know, the EIN number for the U.S. So they may call it the NIT. That's the same field that Christian just showed you for you to be able to put that information there, guys.
Mm-hmm. So there's another question about the original documents attached to the eAWB in an envelope. That rest of that pouch still needs to go on paper for now. There is a question from Marcella that I've been advised by multiple airlines that only the master eAWB would be sent electronically, but I see the ability of sending house eAWBs electronically as well. How do we know the destinations that are already operating with eAWBs? That's a good question, and that's one of the reasons I included in those IATA slides in the presentation as well, that there are actually within that one umbrella of eAWB multiple different message types going both ways. And it might be that there are some airlines that only support either receiving or sending only specific types out of those possible types of messages. And again, it's best to ask the airline, and in the IATA matchmaker, you can see which and in the reports there as well, you can see airlines by origin and destination airports as well. But to know which airline specifically might ask only a selection or accept only a selection of the messages, electronic message types, or respond with only a selection of all the possible ones, we currently have no way of displaying that data, unfortunately. So you would have to, if the airline tells you that yes, they accept the electronic airway bill, but only the master, then I guess that's what they do. Then you just wouldn't send the houses, or you would try, but probably the houses will give you back an error message that the airline only accepted the master. This is, again, the whole industry is getting on board with this at different pace. So we will have to see how it works. So all we can guarantee is that if there is a message coming back from the airline, we will display it. If you need to send masters and or houses, you can send it from Magaya. But what actually will be the communication will be case by case. Okay. So there's a question about other countries, and there's an example here, in this case Guatemala, cargo going from USA to Guatemala, and we receive cargo here. That's the airline in Guatemala. Are they noticed too? So this is, I'm guessing, about a multi-leg shipment. I'm guessing you'd have to file with different airlines, different eAWB bills? Jose, do you have an answer here? For example, if your shipment flies from US to Guatemala and from there to somewhere else on a different airline, what you would have to file?
Well, you still have the file. You're still filing the same thing. In reality, that airway bill will have the legs. In Magaya, we have an opportunity to do that in the actual routing section. You have a way for you to be able to say what is the airport that it's going to fly to, what is the next flight number, as well as if it changes the airline within that same airway bill. So it really doesn't change what you will do in Magaya. It's just you putting the right information in the right boxes in order for that information to transfer over.
Okay. So we have a question here about the $50 fee. Do we pay that when we sign up for the eAWB bill? Do we pay that every month in addition to the transactions, or do we? Is that a minimum if we don't reach 50 on our monthly bill?
That's correct. It is a minimum if you don't reach the 50. You still pay $50. So let's say you got up to 55. Well, you would pay 50 for your minimum, and then the $5 for the additional transactions that you have there. That's how it's going to go. So you're not going to pay 50 for the minimum and another 50 in transactions. It's after 50 you start paying those $5 that you have per transaction, depending on the volume that you have.
And there's nothing upon sign up, correct?
That's correct. There is no sign up amount.
Got it. Okay. And we have the question again with the commercial invoice. Again, that same answer about other documents. Can we send cargo manifest? No. Again, it's just the airway bill. Airline's request for commercial invoice. That is the same answer. And the question about is the ITN number included on the transmission? So if you have already filed your EEI and you have the ITN number, I want to say yes, but it's been a long webinar, so let me quickly verify this. Okay, so I have a shipment with an ITN number here. And if I don't have an answer in 20 seconds, I will get back to you later with this one. But I thought maybe there's a quick way of reminding me here. Okay, I'm taking a note. This is something that we will check and we will publish in the follow-up and in the newsletter. I currently don't remember the answer to the question about the ITN number being included or not. Jose, do you happen to know?
Christian, I do not know. I actually wrote it down myself, so I'm glad we're on the same page of getting back to people about that. And I think we should send out an email to everyone who joined this webinar so they all know what the answer is as soon as we find out.
Yes, that's what's great about the format of typing in your questions, because we will have a record of all the questions asked and who asked them after this webinar, so we can follow up. Okay, so the question is it's the actual transmission. Is it going directly to the airlines, or it stays in a server cloud or anything like that? The airline will have access to if permitted so by the sender. No, that's what it's when you sign the multilateral agreement and when you sign up with the Magaya eAWB bill. Once you click send, it goes all the way to the airline. They don't have to do anything to go and download it from somewhere, and there's no way. Once you send, it goes to the airline. That's basically it. Will the amendment will the amendment cost extra? Jose, correct me if I'm wrong. I know from Magaya's side it does not. I think if you send an amendment to the same master, but I think we don't charge for that.
Correct.
Yeah, so I don't know if airlines might enforce their fees for amendments. That's up to them. But for Magaya, it's one per master, regardless of how many amendments to the master U file. Okay, so there's another question of what if the amendments is to change airlines and destinations? Is the first amendment already submitted will be automatically cancelled with the original airline? That is a very good question. I don't know the answer to my question. My guess is no, but we will have to get back to Marcella on that.
Yeah, we have to get you a clear answer. But if you are changing the airline, now you're sending technically another message to another airline. So we'll have to get a better answer for you. But I don't think that would be necessarily an amendment. It would probably be looked at as a new transmission to another airline. But we'll get you a better answer, ma'am.
All right, we have a few more minutes here. There will not be any extra charge. There was a follow-up question to the each amendment. Will it cost extra? No, it'll be the same master if it qualifies as an amendment. There is a question is there an option to modify information directly on the eAWB bill as on the current system? The answer is no. The verification screen you see there is for your display. We have painted it to look as the eAWB bill, but in reality it goes out as an electronic message in an XML format, and the fields are pulled directly from the Magaya database. So the ability that you have with the paper eAWB bills to fill in the database fields and then make quote-unquote manual changes on the actual template, that will not be there for the eAWB bill. The fields are going straight from the database. So if you need to take notes, we need to find a correct notes field to type the information in. Will it be mandatory for all airlines and freight forwarders, and when, if you have the info? Well, again, IATA is pushing very hard for the initiative, but they're not a legislative body in the end. So by which point different airlines or airports or ground handling agents will get on board with this will vary, and there's no we don't have the information. But again, for that, these seminars and general information here will help. Okay, how do I know that the eAWB bill is going to the correct airline? Well, when you sign up with the eAWB bill, you will actually we will have to enable the airlines for you. When you sign up with Magaya, we'll enable the airlines that you use specifically for you. So we will make sure that the airline that you're working with is a real airline, that you will have to have the airline record, the carrier record filled in Magaya correctly. The carrier 2-letter code and their IATA code is what the electronic transmission will use to verify that it's actually sent as a correct airline. What is the benefit to send the eAWB bill if we still have to send the paper package with all documents to the airline? It's a good question, Jose. Do you want to address this one?
The biggest benefit is the accuracy that's going to be there with the airline. There is no way for the airline to tell you that it wasn't received. It's all electronically sent. You're right that as shippers and as logistics people, we're so used to our paperwork. Our paperwork is our word. So if it says 3, that's what they're expecting to receive. But there is a change, and I think that when we look at everything else going on specifically within the industry and logistics, it's more accuracy. It is a little bit more simple to do. A couple of clicks once you have everything in your Magaya system. There'll be more opportunities as these things become mainstream, to add maybe that manifest and add a few more items into it. Remember, this is still in infancy. More peace of mind, I say, and be green. Those are basic things that I can tell you regarding what the biggest advantages are for Magaya itself, for using the eAWB bill, excuse me, with Magaya.
Okay, let's see. Questions. Am I still showing my screen?
No.
All right, great. Who is going to print master eAWB bill and house eAWB bill for customs purpose at destination? Again, as Jose already answered, I think that exact question, that is something you would need to consult with the airline with. How do we select the service of e-AWB bill when we need it? It's well, basically the paper eAWB bill functionality in Magaya will work as before. So it's whether you go to the actions button and click e-AWB bill if you have the plugin enabled with Magaya or not, you'll still be able to decide. You know, maybe some airline isn't on board, so to them you'll use the paper eAWB bill still. Or if you want to print it for your own purposes, that doesn't change. How you select whether you use eAWB bill or not is whether you go to the actions button and hit send eAWB bill. Okay, the question is, do the airlines have the same system at the origin and destination? And again, a question regarding the other documents with the eAWB bill, which we have answered. Okay, so regarding origin destination, it is possible that it varies per airline, per airport. That in some countries they maybe are using it, in some they're not. Again, it's best to ask your airline or see if the eAWB resources answer that question for origin and destination airport. Sorry. And then last question we have is it is the last question, and we are over time as well already. Is about the ITN number again, which we will send a follow up. And the other question that I skipped and I need to follow up is that the notify party information, does this get sent in the electronic message? Because as you noticed correctly, some of you noticed in the demo, it does not get displayed in the print in the preview screen. So the two questions I will verify in the follow-up is, what about the ITN number and what about the notify party information? Do these get sent as part of the electronic eAWB bill message? And the follow-up to this webinar, which also will include the link to the recording, will be sent either later today or tomorrow morning. So you will receive a follow-up here. In the meantime, the resources on the IATA website are available, and you can always go to our knowledge base to page 1 to call our support as well. And we thank you for your attention. Jose, did you have any final points?
No, basically, we will be sending you guys the information, a little checklist that we basically showed you here. Feel free to give us a call, and if you have any questions and what we can do to assist you, your sales rep will be standing by also to help you out in any way, shape, or form that we can point you in the right direction. We'll try to do that, okay? Thank you very much for joining us. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.